Today we're going to be talking about lesson 5.3 on writing proportions. So remember from yesterday that we talked about proportions being two equal or equivalent ratios. Remember that a ratio is comparing of two quantities. So as we look at these questions today, it says write a different proportion that gives the number X of tomatoes in the new recipe. So I've written the recipe over here. And we have the comparison of beans to tomatoes. So 1.5 cups of beans to 1 tomato, or 6 cups of beans to X tomatoes. So right now we're comparing the original recipe to the new recipe. We want to write a different proportion. So instead of writing it compared the old to the new, we could also rewrite it comparing the beans to the tomatoes. So we know that we have 1.5 cups of beans to 6 cups of beans. And we know that we have 1 tomato to an unknown amount of tomatoes. So we can also rewrite it like this. So for example number 2, it says write a proportion that gives the amount Y of water in the new recipe. So take a minute to use the original recipe to rewrite the proportion to give the new amount for water. Here we are going to look at two different examples that could answer question number 2. So the first was to write a proportion for the amount of water in the new recipe. So we're going to compare the old recipe to the new recipe. So the old recipe had 1.5 cups of beans to 2 cups of water. So I'm going to label a little bit further here. The new recipe we know has 6 cups of beans to Y cups of water. For the second one, we can compare the beans to the water. So we know that we have 1.5 cups of beans to 6 cups of beans, and we have 2 cups of water to an unknown number of cups of water. So this is 2 examples of how we could answer number 2. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few more. So here we're going to look at solving proportions. So we are going to use that butterfly method or the cross multiply and divide. So when we rewrite the problem to have enough room to solve, we can take 8 times 20, rewrite the problem. Here we go. 8 times 20 and 5 times d. So we know that 5 times d is 5d, and 8 times 20 is 160. So we know that 5d has to equal to 160. Now we're going to use those inverse operations to solve. So dividing both sides by 5, and we end up with d equals 32. So 160 divided by 5 is 32. Now let's take a look at number 4. I'm going to rewrite number 4, and I want you to take a minute to try and complete this one on your own. As you see here, 14 times z is 14z, and 7 times 10 is 70. We then need to divide both sides by 14 to get the answer of z equals 5. On the last one, number 5, we have 21 over 24 is equal to x over 8. 24 times x is 24x, and 21 times 8 is 168. Go ahead and take a minute to finish this one on your own. You can see that we need to divide both sides by 24, and when we divide 168 by 24, we end up with an answer of x equals 7. Number 6 says a school has 950 students. The ratio of female students to all students is 48 to 95. Write and solve a proportion to find the number of female student or the number F of students who are female. So we are comparing female students to all students. We know that we can have our beginning ratio like this, 48 to 95 is equal to how many out of 950? Because the school has 950 students, that is all of their students. So now we can use several different methods to solve this. We could use our cross products, 48 times 950 and 95 times x, and solve for x. Or you might be able to see that 95 times 10 is 950. So 48 times 10 would give us x. So in this case, x is 480 female students. We need to make sure that we are careful with our label and give the label of exactly what the question is asking us. So it says, write and solve a proportion to find the number F of students who are female. So our question is asking us for the number of female students, so that will be our label today.